Welcome to another edition of Our City. First of all, I'd like to thank Kane University for being the host of Our City. From now on, we'll be taping our shows here at Kane University, and I want to thank them for putting together the new introduction that you've seen in the show this week and in last week's show. I want to thank Alonzo Jones for hosting last week's show, and I look forward to joining with you again from our new set. So a few things going around the city of Elizabeth this week. On Wednesday at 12 noon on July 23rd, a ribbon cutting for the Wing Stop will be located on 178B Elmore Avenue, a new restaurant in our city. And on Thursday, July 24th, a grand opening of Jewish Family Services, the Home Health Aid Training Center, which is located at 655 Westfield Avenue. On Friday, July 25th at 5 o'clock, I'll join members of the Peruvian community as we raise the Peruvian flag and celebrate a proclamation in front of City Hall. And on Sunday, July 27th, the Peruvian Day Parade will begin with a Front Street and it will end at City Hall. Following that event, I'll join other dignitaries, friends and family and community as we honor Joe Long, who was a member of the Four Seasons. The Four Seasons are extremely popular on Broadway with the show Jersey Boys and the movie as well, Jersey Boys. Joe Labratio, Joe Longo, was a member of the Four Seasons from 1965 to 1975, and we're going to dedicate a street in his honor at High Street and 3rd Avenue at 4:30. So if you need more information concerning these events or any other events, please call our Public Information Office at 820-4124. This show is being taped on Monday, July 21st, and we were notified earlier today that our sheriff, Ralph Froelich, passed away during the night. He was the sheriff for 37 years here in our city, a member of law enforcement for 55 years, serving and starting as a patrolman in the city of Elizabeth, rising to the rank of lieutenant. I remember Ralph Froelich in many ways, not only as the sheriff in our community, but as a friend. My first remembrance of Ralph Froelich is when I was in the 8th grade. Sheriff Froelich came to my house, sat at the kitchen table with my mother, and the two of them started to organize their 8th grade reunion. My mom and Ralph Froelich joined together on many other occasions to celebrate their reunions from Blessed Sacrament Grammar School. So Ralph, on behalf of the entire citizenry of Elizabeth, our thoughts and prayers are with your family, and we wish you rest in peace. So tonight's show begins with a celebration of the Colombian Day Parade, which we had last week in the city of Elizabeth, and I'm pleased to be joined by Miss Marcela Nunez and Mr. Julio Gomez, some organizers of the Colombian Day Parade. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Good to see you.
Good to see you, Mayor.
So when is the Colombian Day Parade?
The Colombian Day Parade will take place on August 3rd. It will leave from City Hall and it will end in Morris Avenue and Orchard Street.
In the beginning, I said it was last week, but that was the Colombian Festival we had on Morris Avenue.
Yes.
This is going to be a parade more geared towards the culture of the community.
Absolutely. We're geared towards folklore, and hopefully people will use the restaurants. I messed up.
You use the restaurant, that's okay.
We'll take advantage of the restaurants that we have on Morris Avenue and see many of the folklore from not only from Colombia, from other countries. We have dancers from Peru, from Ecuador, and many other countries there as well.
So Julio, you're active in organizing this parade, and tell us your steps.
Well, I'm a new member. I am active in the organization. Primarily, I'm working on the legal side of issues since I'm an attorney. But the rest of our group has been spending months organizing not just the various displays that are going to be there, the people that are participating, the various groups. There is a lot of logistical work that's involved in putting all of the floats together and that sort of thing. Organizing with the local commercial establishments for sponsorship as well. So, and there's also a magazine that's going to accompany this activity and the rest of activities of the year that highlights the activities of the organization, our charitable activities, and also has our sponsors there as well advertising.
You may be a new member, Julio, but organizations like this don't succeed unless they keep getting new members.
Yes, that's right.
So,
That's
so
right.
you're going to get more and more duties, I know that.
Yes, and we hope to get new members as well.
So Marcella, the organization was formed how many years ago, and who are some of the members you have?
The organization was formed in June 2008. It was founded after a devastating winter in Colombia, and it caused a major flooding. And many people and merchants from the tri-state area felt the need of getting together and forming an organization to help our families and friends in Colombia. So we became a nonprofit in June 2008. Currently, we have 32 members, and like you just said before, we're constantly looking for new members to take part of this.
So Marcella, do you have to be Colombian to join this organization?
Absolutely not. We have members right now from Ecuador, from Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Cuba. So no, you don't have to be Colombian. As long as you have the will to just help out, and you're okay with doing all kinds of drives and food drives and clothing drive and just help out.
So the Colombianos Sin Fronteras has been providing help to not only the victims in Colombia, but also here in the United States.
We've helped victims in Colombia of natural disasters. We've also helped with the Haiti earthquake a couple of years back. We were able to collect over 7,000 pounds of food for Haiti, as well as sending cash and donations in cash to Haiti. We've helped natural disasters in Ecuador, in Peru, in Philippines. And here in the United States 2 years ago, when we were hit by Sandy, we also we had the clothing drives and the food drives and helped out with that cause as well.
So since you're a new member, Julio, how did you get involved? Did Marcella knock on your door and say we need help, or how did you get involved?
Well, we had a reception in my office, and a lot of the members came. I met them for the first time. Yes, you were there, Mayor. And I learned about the organization. I learned about its charitable purpose, and it was very attractive to me.
So are
the
you
kind of work that
Colombian,
they were
or
doing.
you-
I am Colombian.
Okay.
I was born in Colombia, but I grew up in Elizabeth. And it's a way for everyone to give back a little bit. We are not focused on sort of only Colombia charitable work. Obviously, from how Marcella has explained, we do really focus on natural disasters, regardless of where they take place. And the idea is to try to alleviate some of the pain. And then when there is no natural disaster, then the focus is more on the poor and the disadvantaged in those countries.
So Marcella, what are some of the most popular events that you guys put together?
Well, we have we hold 4 parties during the year. Right now, they're being held at the Portuguese Club here in Elizabeth. Very successful. We have live bands and DJs and food, and through these parties, that's how we make money. We take donations from the people that want to participate in these parties, and well, not only through the parties, but we also have sponsors, like Julio said before, for the magazine, and that's how we're able to collect our funds.
So the people that participate in the parade, you talked about folklore groups and singers, and last year's parade was a lot of fun.
It was.
I remember sitting on the stage with your daughter, and somebody was singing songs or playing a guitar or something. We wound up getting a tape too.
Yes, we did. You did. Yeah, we had a harp player last year. Yes,
yeah.
And we take pride that we bring in folklore from Colombia. Last year's parade was very successful. We had a band of children.
Somebody was from Hoboken, I think.
Okay.
But she's Colombian. I'm only kidding.
So, but we did have a couple of groups that came from Colombia. This year, we're going to have about 20 participants from the Barranquilla Festival. So it's folklore that comes directly from other countries as well.
And you have a grand marshal? Do you have a grand marshal of the parade?
I'm not sure.
I don't think that decision has been finalized yet.
We don't know if we're going to have a grand marshal of the parade.
Yeah.
So organizing a parade of this size is difficult. And
Very complicated.
Who are the people that get involved, and what are their specific roles in this parade?
Well, you obviously have somebody who's doing all of the paperwork with the city, getting their necessary permits, doing the logistical.
That's the easy part. How do you get over these who marches first? Somebody doesn't like where they're marching. I mean, that could be difficult.
Right. And then we have other members who are in touch with folks in Colombia and with performers and different bands. The biggest difficulty we have, obviously, is funding. Is being able to logistically bring people here. So a lot of the time, even though it's not focused on the parade itself, it's focused on fundraising. Because without the funding, you can't actually stage the event. And the event itself doesn't raise enough funds to pay for itself. So a lot of the work happens beforehand in terms of fundraising. But you've got folks who are working on the logistical issues in terms of siting the event. You have other people who are reaching out to performers and bands and trying to clear their schedules to get them here. And then you have other people dealing with fundraisers and advertisers. Revolving around this magazine that we publish every year. That's going to be distributed concurrently with the festival. So there are really three components in terms of them. And of course we have our own float, and we have a group of volunteers that's decorating our own float and coming up with the theme for our own float. So it's roughly those four areas.
So who are the sponsors of the parade? Who are some of the sponsors?
Most of the sponsors are local merchants and businesses. They range from professionals, either accountants or lawyers like myself, to various store owners and restaurateurs.
And the parade takes place during this season because it's Independence. Correct?
It's Independence Day, yes. It goes along with their Independence, July 20th, which was
July
yesterday.
20th.
Yes, correct.
How many? It's 180 some years, do we know? Somewhere around there.
Somewhere around
We'll
there.
get back to that.
Yes, absolutely.
The best place to watch the parade, would you say it's at City Hall or Morris Avenue, or where's?
All along the route, it's a good place, but preferably from what we've heard in the past, people like Morris Avenue. We have a stage there, and we usually have guitar or bands or different groups perform at that place. So that's where people like to stand.
So tell me again, where does the parade start?
City Hall.
Starts at City Hall.
We go down to Elizabeth Avenue and then make a right down to Broad Street, and then follow that route to Morris Avenue.
And then the
and
parade
we'll
ends
stop at Orchard Street, Morris and Orchard.
On Orchard Street.
Yes.
So it starts. It's August 3rd, and when does it start?
1 p.m.
1 p.m.
1 p.m. on
Correct.
August 3rd, and then it goes through the city, and then there's some celebrations at the end.
Yes.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, I want to thank the two of you for taking the time to join us on the show. And I look forward to joining with you at the parade and celebrating Colombian culture, not only at the parade, but we do that all year long on Morris Avenue, especially with the way the Colombian community has revitalized that part of our district.
Yes.
So
Thank
I
you.
look forward. Thank you, Marcella, and thank you, Julio.
Thank you, Mayor, for the
Thanks on the show.
opportunity.
Thank you for having us.
So please stay with us after these messages. There'll be more on our city. We'll bring on the Councilman of the First Ward, Councilman Carlos Torres. Welcome back to our city. I'm pleased to be joined by the Councilman of the First Ward, Councilman Carlos Torres. Councilman, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
So you came through a big primary election. How did that feel? It's the first time you actually, well, you won a 4-year term. You won an election before, but you ran against nobody. This time you had competition.
Yeah, it feels great. This is, like you said, this is my second election. Last year I ran unopposed during a special election. So this year I had opposition, but I feel blessed. I had a great team, great support from my family. So I'm looking forward to 4 years of getting things done in the First Ward.
So one of the things, tell us how you got there. It was a vacancy. I mean, tell our viewers how eventually you became a councilman. It's an interesting story.
Well, in 2012, the councilman before me, Manny Grover Jr., decided that he was going to run for councilman at large. So that created a vacancy for the First Ward. So I had to do a lot of handshaking, and actually we had a little interview with the Democratic Committee, and I was the top vote getter after that meeting. So
Then the city council selected you.
correct,
And
I ran unopposed in the primary last year, and
For the unexpired term.
correct.
So now you're going to get 4 years. Well, you got to win in November, but you don't have any opposition in November.
That's the good part.
That's the good part, right? So what does your wife think of politics?
Me and my wife, we had a long conversation. She's okay with it. I guess the downside is I never talked to my kids. So the negative part, things that I was being blamed of, it didn't sit too well with me, having to explain to them. I know people say this is the game of politics, but it's not my game.
You're talking about the negative campaigning.
Correct. That was hard for me. That was hard to
explaining that to your kids.
I was being blamed for everything. So I took that personal. But after I had to go back, talk to my sons and my daughter and say, this
Just
is what they do.
because they say it doesn't mean it's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So one of the things you've been working on, and especially with our Public Works Director, is the waterfront. As you know, it was destroyed by Sandy before you were in elective office, but you've been instrumental in working with the director on the renovations.
Absolutely. The director has been doing a great job. I know many towns, we talked, many towns decided to rebuild their towns without crossing every T and dotting every I, and they didn't get the full refund from FEMA. So, the director took this time and, again, crossed all his T's and dotted all. And it's coming along. We were hoping to have it open by 4th of July. But due to the amount of snowstorms that we had this past winter and, just little miscellaneous things here and there, it's coming along. It's going to look amazing. We just don't want to rebuild the waterfront. We want to bring life to the waterfront.
And I think we can do that, right, collectively. I mean, have some events there.
Absolutely. I'm already planning movies on the waterfront, maybe the month of July and August next year. I believe that we were approved for we're the first urban community approved for a playground where angels play. For those who don't know, Captain Bill Lavin created his own organization, and he took cities that were devastated by Hurricane Sandy and the tragedy that in Newtown, Connecticut, all the victims, and he's building playgrounds across the United States in honor of the victims.
Yeah,
so,
each victim's going to have a playground named after him.
Absolutely.
And we're going to have one.
Absolutely, and it's going to be right on the waterfront.
The Embassy Suites, a hotel in your ward, opened up. You were able to be there for that opening. Tell us about your thoughts on that.
The Embassy Suites provides 189 rooms. It's very modern, very bright. I had the opportunity to host youth and government there. It's a great hotel. I believe they're the first hotel with salt water for their pool. So it's just very modern.
How do you know that?
I used it a couple of times. Took the family there.
Oh, good for you. So it's also created jobs for our residents.
Absolutely. We partnered with the county and EDC, and we were able to provide on-the-job training. One of our goals is when residents get a job, they're educated and they're well-equipped to keep a job. I know many of the residents that I talk to, they're hired and within the next week they're fired. So by creating the on-the-job program, they're able to keep a job for a much longer time.
Now, Councilman, you and I share a background, sort of say, in getting into politics. I was active with the North Elizabeth Youth Baseball League and was not only the president of the league, but coach and manager and umpire. You did something similar by taking a group of young people and creating a football league with the Elizabeth Packers, growing it from 20 and 25 kids in year one to hundreds of kids as you eventually became a city council member. So how does this, being on the city council, you still have a full-time job, you have a family, how does it affect your time with the Elizabeth Packers?
That's my baby. That's my passion. The youth is my passion. So I make time, and I'm learning how to cut out certain events, but I make time for that because that's what I created. We're going into our 6th year. I started with 40 kids, and now we're up to over 300. So it's all about educating our youth, just making sure that.
So when you see these kids playing Little League football or Pop Warner football or whatever you call it, Little League football, you used to play.
Absolutely.
I'm told you were a fairly good football player in your day.
I wasn't the most talented kid, but I knew I had to outwork everyone. So, I was the first one at practice, the last one to leave, and.
So what position did you play?
I played wide receiver and safety.
And who was your quarterback?
This guy named Carlos Nazario and Terry Hanratty.
So Terry Hanratty could throw the ball, or
he could.
I know Terry, so I have to.
He couldn't throw it long, but he could throw.
Oh, where did I see him? I'm telling him he said he couldn't throw it long. Now, one of the other things you worked on with United Way and the Red Bull soccer team was Get Fit Day. Tell us about Get Fit Day and your involvement in that.
Well, we wanted to educate the residents just the importance of exercise, eating properly. So we partnered with United Way, and they were able to bring in the Red Bull. So some of the soccer, I believe it was 4 or 5 guys came from the Red Bulls, and they were able to teach the kids, some of their skills. But it was a great event. There was over 300 kids there. And again, it was just all about educating our youth the proper way of eating and make sure that exercise is very important.
So exercise is important as well as proper eating, but what did you work on there? Did you work on the exercise part or the proper eating part?
No, I'm on break. I didn't do neither.
Oh, you didn't do neither?
I didn't do neither.
You got the people there.
I was too busy campaigning.
But you got the right people there.
Absolutely, absolutely. We had soccer groups there. We had the YMCA was there. They performed. We actually had a team called TTA, Training Today's Athlete, and they did like a little mini football combine. The kids loved it.
And do you see any promise in some of these kids that could play at the high school or college level at this young age?
Absolutely, absolutely. I see kids in college that played for me, Temple University. There's actually 3 kids from Elizabeth. They all start for Temple University. They're in their sophomore year.
The quarterback, P.J. Walker, right?
P.J. Walker, Jihad Thomas, and Jihad Pretlow. So the future.
And they all played in your organization?
Except for P.J., but the other 2 did.
Okay.
Both Jihads. P.J. was a PAL guy. I could never recruit him to come over.
He stayed with the PAL.
Absolutely.
Guy. Now, do you play each other? Or you differently? Do you play the PAL or?
I haven't looked at the schedule this year, but in the past we have.
You have, okay.
Yeah, and it's great for the community. The whole community comes out.
Oh, I know. I've been at some of your games. That's how we met. Was when you were coaching the Packers, and I flipped a coin at one of the games. I was like, "There's a lot of kids here."
I believe you still have that coin.
Well, you gave it to me. I didn't know I was supposed to give it back. So recently, you joined the firemen and some emergency medical technicians. You spent a 24-hour shift with them. Tell us about your experience in spending 24 hours in a firehouse.
It was an amazing experience. I never knew how hard the firemen worked, or the EMS. We cooked together. We cleaned. They took me out on a little course where I was able to hook up the hoses to the fire hydrant. It was very educational. I guess the hardest part for me is during the middle of the night, when the bell goes off, it doesn't mean that your fire truck is going out, your company is going out. So if there was, say, a car accident in another ward, we would hear it. So, you know, in the middle of the night, I'm waking up, I'm looking at the guy next to me, I'm like, is that us? He goes, no, that's not us. The bell goes off again, it says, is that us? He goes, not. Finally, we did get a call, some lady with chest pains. So he goes, that's us. So I didn't want to be the last one on the truck, so I got dressed, I jumped on that truck, and en route, I look at the captain and I go, hey, Captain, we didn't brush our teeth. He goes, no, we don't have time for that. You know, every second counts. So it's just amazing the volume of calls that they handle from car accidents. We all know they put out fires, but just they do great work.
So you rode with a fire truck and the EMTs dealt with the woman with chest pains?
Correct. We were the first one there, and then we finally waited for the ambulance to show up.
So now that you got a full 4-year term coming up, what are some of the goals you'd like to see happen in the First Ward?
Again, I just want to be very active. As long as I'm active and I continue to do work in the community, more community development, economic development, just educating our residents, you know, and informing them, you know, this is what the city provides and this is the programs available to you, because there's a lot of programs here in the city that residents in the First Ward have no clue of. So real quick, you seem to be accessible. You want to be accessible. How do people get a hold of you? They could get in touch with me. My phone number is 908-370-5214.
Councilman, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us on the show. I look forward to working with you as a member of the City Council over the next 4 years, and I wish you well.
I can't wait.
For Councilman Carlos Torres and for Marcela Nunez and Mr. Julio Gomez, I'm Chris Bolwage. We'll see you next week on another edition of Our City.
Where will the next generation of scientists come from? Right here. Kane University.